What is the nicest thing that somebody has done for you?
Wow, this is a tough one. For the purposes of this question, I will leave the family outside because obviously I think the work that, let's say, my parents did for me, coming from the back of a lower middle class background, basing on their life to ensure that I got and my brothers got the best education that they could afford, and even actually more than they could afford, I think is something that has set us up for the future. When it comes to the family, it's such an emotional thing that I will leave that outside of this answer. I think one of the things is been for me that along the journey that I've had in the last 20 years of working of my career, there are folks who have selflessly spent time with me and guiding me along without thinking of what it could benefit them and how it would benefit them. To give you an example, there is this gentleman who was potentially one of my early clients. He's a tech entrepreneur himself and he's been the tech entrepreneur of the previous IT services era. Created a company, spent many years running it, and then listed it on Nasdaq and sold it after that. The time that somebody like that has spent mentoring and coaching me to become a better wealth manager. Every evening, walking me through how he would think about and how I should react to those situations. Even later, when I have trouble explaining a concept, I would reach out to him and say that, how should I explain this? And he would spend time with me and talk to me about it. So some of these mentors along the way who selflessly, and when I ask him today as to being so busy and why would you spend so much time, he talks about the personal satisfaction that they derive from that. And that's, for somebody in the money business, it's really hard to understand too, because you put a value on the time and therefore you want to extract value from that time. So I think that for me, the mentors that we have had along our journey, I think has been one of the most interesting thing. And to me, therefore, now it almost seems like incumbent upon us to pass it along. I don't have a great construct or a great structure in which how I will pass it along. But there's this itch now that, is there any way that I can help others? Because when you help somebody and that person's economic situation improves, there is a lot of lives around that person that get positively impacted and their economic situation improves, and then so on and so forth. So I think a lot of life is about improving economic situations, and through somebody's mentorship, if my economic situation improved, I think that's something that I find very amazing. Obviously, the family comes first, and the kind of effort that and sacrifices that my parents, my wife make today for what I do today or have done in the past, I think that is simply incredible. But why do you ask this question? It's an interesting one.
I personally reflect on it a lot. You are on this podcast. You're giving me your time. You're sharing your insights. I have had mentors who have, for no reason, taken time to give me insights. And by the way, even if one guy listens to this conversation that happened between you and me and inspires him or her to do something better, I am more than happy for putting in all the time and effort and thanking all the guests who have come on board.
You know, one of the most interesting things, especially, and I think about this particular podcast also, is that you are putting it out there without expecting necessarily feedback coming to you. And by feedback, likes, comments, engagement, view through rates, all of that stuff. And that's the hard part to do, because, and similarly, when somebody somebody's mentoring me, they are not expecting anything to come back to them. The nicest things in life are those that somebody can do for you is where they didn't go in expecting certain feedback, or they didn't go in expecting elevation of their economic or social status. If I do anything to elevate my economic or social status, then that's in a way a vested interest, right? I'm doing it for a reason. And in the process, if I help someone, then it's great. But the really good things that you can do for someone is where you don't expect anything for coming back as either economic or social status. And by the way, a lot of philanthropy that does happen for social status. You would want your name on the school and so on and so forth. But I think where mentors spend time with you, they are in the background. A lot of us don't even know who they are, like who is Pritish's mentor or who is Sandeep's mentor. People don't know that, but they have a massive role.